Hey there, I'm here to interrupt your regularly scheduled entertainment. Usually I do no-face speed paint videos, but for today's video, I'm going to be walking around the Cleveland Gaming Classic convention, and I felt like it'd be a good time to talk about something in conventions that you don't really see much anymore, which is character-themed Ask panels. You see, back in the day, this is like 2012 to 2015 kind of Homestuck era, because I haven't heard this talked about very frequently, like in more modern day conventions. But back in the day, there used to be things called Ask panels at conventions, in which groups of cosplayers would host panels at events where they cosplayed as characters and they would act in character for people asking questions as if they were asking that character a question. These events caused a multitude of different kinds of problems, namely the fact that when it comes to being a panelist at conventions, a lot of cons will offer panelists free badges to be a part of that convention. And the problem actually with Ask panels wasn't exactly the fact that a lot of conventions would just give you free badges, because if it was like 2 or 3 people, that's one thing. But the issue with the Ask panels is that it wasn't 2 or 3 people. Instead, what they would like to do is they would have like upwards of 20 to 30 people for their Ask panel, and they would demand free badges for all of those people. And the problem with them wanting to do like upwards of 20 to 30 people is that they would use franchises that had incredibly large casts, like Homestuck, for example, which was one of the most infamous cases of Ask panels. And some cons, not all cons, none of the cons I used to do, but some cons would even offer payment to panelists for hosting a panel at their con. Another problem with character-themed Ask panels back in the day was badge theft, which was kind of a weird thing in itself. One of the last conventions that I went to that had a character-themed Ask panel, actually the Ask panel got in trouble because they were planning on doing fake badges for the event, because the event realized how many people wanted to be a part of that Ask panel and was like, that's way too many people just to get free badges. And so someone in that group chat was like, well, if they mail out the badges prior to events, which a lot of conventions do that for some reason, they just said that they would take that badge over to like Kinko's or Walmart or FedEx and get copies made of that badge, which they ended up getting banned from that event, obviously, because everybody reported it. Another issue with character-themed Ask panels is that oftentimes they were done for franchises that had no specific age demographic. And by what I mean by that is that usually they weren't 18 plus. And while there were some that were 18 plus, they were often done using characters that were not 18 plus. So it made things a little awkward back in the day when your character is canonically like 13, but they're asking questions about like sex and things like that. The additional problem with the character themed Ask panels not having franchises that were like 18 plus is that oftentimes, even if they did request the panel be 18 plus, a lot of conventions just wouldn't abide by that because the franchise itself is meant for teenagers. Not saying a lot of conventions did that, but a lot of them that I ended up going to in the Northwest Ohio area did end up doing that. And even the panels that did end up being 18 plus and the con went along with it and said it's 18 plus, a lot of conventions actually wouldn't age verify or badge check people when they came into panels. They kind of wanted the panelists themselves to rely on doing that, but many of them, they just wanted to sit at the table and answer the questions in character. So they didn't really have anybody like third party or not in cosplay or not participating standing at the door and checking to make sure that the people going into the panel room was the appropriate age for the event. And when I actually talked to some people that hosted these panel events, the reason why they didn't like age verify or badge check people at the door is a lot of them said it should be the convention's job to do that in one way or another, either by posting a staff member outside the panel door or by giving people under 18 a special wristband or stamp or something to indicate that they were not over 18. Because despite the scale of a lot of conventions, especially the ones that I vend at and have participated in panels at, a lot of them are actually very poorly organized, surprisingly enough. But if you go to conventions nowadays, you'll realize that they don't do character Ask panels anymore. So the question lies with, are any of the reasons I just listed part of why character Ask panels are no longer a thing? What killed character Ask panels at conventions? Did they just lose popularity, or are they banned from the conventions now? To answer that, I'm actually going to switch over to the speed paint portion of this video in which I do like a predetermined script and I'm going to research and I'll get back to you.
In the live convention footage, I posed the question of what happened to character ask panels at conventions. If I didn't do a good enough job explaining them, like in the actual convention footage, here's my rundown again. What I mean by character ask panels is when fans of a franchise are cosplaying characters from said franchise, and they role play like they are the character. And during the panel, they'll allow the audience to ask them questions, and they'll answer the questions in character, as if they are the character. These were very popular during like the height of the Homestuck era, but I also saw some of them for other franchises like Hetalia, and I saw like one for Hatoful Boyfriend at a time. Yeah, that's the pigeon dating simulator. Over the years, I've noticed a decline, like a rapid decline in these types of panels, and I wanted to look into some reasons as to why this might be the case that I didn't already mention during the convention footage. As it turns out, the most prevalent reason that I found was simply because too many people got into like arguments during these panels because since they weren't actually canon, people who took things too seriously would get upset if the panelist had like conflicting headcanons to that of the audience, people asking questions. These arguments apparently would escalate sometimes in instances with actual fistfights breaking out and threats being made to con staff over these panels randomly. Just completely unhinged behavior, honestly, but we're not surprised with nerds nowadays. These kinds of panels were declining in popularity prior to conventions, slowly like phasing them out of the accepted programming, which the viewpoints of fan-run events shifting to wanting to discuss more canon topics of a franchise as opposed to fandom headcanons, with a lot of public opinion shifting to thinking in-character cosplays are like cringe, since it's kind of hard to interact with people in any serious manner when they are just too dedicated to method acting, or aka using a character as an excuse just to be kind of a jerk at a con. Although just discussion-based panels have also been kind of falling in popularity in favor of panels being run by people actually a part of a franchise, like maybe a storyboard person for like an anime or like voice actors and things like that. And even like industry type workshops, which I find it kind of impressive that there's been like a rapid uptick in requesting more educational type content at conventions. I'm actually surprised that the other things that I like mentioned and discussed in like the live convention footage of me walking around didn't really pop up more during like the initial research and even like questioning phase of this, like the issues I mentioned of people trying to scam free panelist badges and issues with like acting inappropriately to minors in the audience. I'm sure some of those issues I've mentioned did play a bit of a role in the overall decisions from convention staff to like phase out these like panels, but when it comes to the one con that I actually was able to talk to, they didn't really mention that at all in our brief message exchange. So did you ever go to or participate in a character ask panel? I have, as a few characters from Homestuck. They were fun, but it's definitely kind of a challenge to remain in character. But what do you think of these kind of panels if you've been to one? Or what are your opinions on them, like if you would have gone to one? Let's say. Be creative, but also be polite in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, click the thumbs up and subscribe for more. This video, like all my content, is brought to you by Patreon, so thank you so much to Ibbo, Alec, Chrome, Mel, and Zomboy for subscribing, and also thank you to the channel member, Mega May. That's all for now. This is Finn, signing off. Until next time.
I can't move on till I let go. I feel so lost, never at home. Need to be strong, every breath hold. 'Cause I can't move